Hi guys, White Witch 110 here. I am on my balcony. Believe it or not, it's too noisy inside the apartment. Cats meowing. And out here it's too noisy because of the traffic. But I want to continue reading away from the cabin. So I hope you don't mind the noise of the traffic. It's not as relaxing, I realize that. I thought of going into hubby's candy shack, but I don't believe that the extension cord is plugged in, so I wouldn't have light. So here we go. Sage, I've lived here by myself for a year. I'm fine on my own. I don't feel comfortable. Maybe I'll postpone the trip. It's all for editing. They can send me the stuff. Or video chat. I'll miss you until you get home. I'm being told to go, aren't I? I'll cut it shorter than a week. Sage contacted Mel and asked if he could stay with her. He agreed. He came over that night. It was an early morning flight. The three drove to the airport. Promise me you won't send Mel home. Sage held her at her waist. I promise. I'll call you when I land. You have my cousin Neil's number. That's where I'm staying. They hugged and kissed. His flight was called, and off he went. Abigail watched as he went out of sight. She drove home and dove into her work. I don't like being away from him. I was upset when he asked you to stay over, but I'm happy he did. The man loves you, Mel told her. In Toronto, Sage spoke with his cousin about Abigail. She's as sweet as I remember. I was so nervous that she had changed, just as thoughtful. He told him. Does she talk about Scott? Neil asked. No, unless I mention something she doesn't. We went to see him in concert at her friend's bar. Neil was shocked. Why? I wanted to see him in person. He had the nerve to send her a note saying he misses her. Sage told him. What did she do? Neil was curious. Ripped it up. Abby said he does this all the time. It's like a game. She's had no luck with men, that poor woman. Hey, Sage slapped his cousin. Until you, of course. I was thinking about visiting next month. I was thinking about visiting next month. Why not go back with me? It'd be nice to have company. Neil said he would consider it. Does Abby miss Toronto? Not really. Only after we were here, she thought about it. But she'd never move back. This life wouldn't suit her one bit, Sage explained. Glad you're staying at my place. That BC air agrees with you. Neil smiled. Sage was finally calm and seemed happy. He powered through the studio work. It was an energized atmosphere, but he preferred the quiet of his place at home. To say he was surprised when offered a full-time position was an understatement. Thank you so much for the offer, but I have to decline. My girlfriend is based in BC. He would never entertain moving back no matter what. Sage made a call home each evening to Abby. They talked about their days and how much they missed each other. They offered me a job here, but I told them no. Thursday morning, Neil had something for Sage to listen to. It's Scott's new song. Scott sang of a couple in conflict with moments of pure passion. The woman is the only one he wants. You need to get home. The man isn't letting go, no matter what it looks like, Neil strongly suggested. I have something to pick up at Frank's tomorrow. I have about 2 hours work at the studio. My ticket's for Saturday, though. Change it or buy another. You need to get home. Sage had many scenarios playing in his head. He decided to call Abigail. Hey, babe, what's up? Nothing much. Mel's taken some papers to the office. I'm just relaxing right now. How are things? Good. Almost finished my work here. Neil says hello, and he's planning on visiting us soon. That'll be great. I miss you. Sage debated whether to mention the song, but he didn't need to. Have you heard Scott's new song? Abigail asked. Yeah. Neil had me listen to it. She could hear the worry in his voice. Don't worry. Can't wait to see you Saturday. Mel and I will be at the airport. Late Friday afternoon, Neil was dropping Sage at Pearson Airport. He was more than anxious to get home. Arriving around dinner, he did indeed surprise Abby and Mel. She threw her arms around him and held him tightly. You're home, she whispered in his ear. Hi, Mel. Thanks for staying with her. My pleasure, Mel said. The three sat around the table chatting away. I'm dog-tired. Time change is a pain in the ass. I'm going to bed. Sage grabbed his bag. Well, girl, get your butt into that room. I'll take care of stuff out here. I owe you, bestie. No, you don't, Mel told her. Abigail closed the door behind her. Hey, sweetie, she said. You coming to bed? He asked. I miss cuddling. Abby changed and slid in. I have something for you. I was going to wait, but the hell with it. Sage sat on his side of the bed. He pulled something from under his pillow. Abigail, will you marry me? You've brought calm and focus to my life. I don't know what I'd do without you. He continued to hold the box, then slowly lifted the lid. Inside was a black ring with a brilliant sapphire flanked by blue topaz. Sage, it's gorgeous. Tears pooled in her eyes. I hoped you'd like it, he smiled. I love it. Yes, I'll marry you. His body was charged with energy. Suddenly, he didn't want to sleep. Did you want to tell anyone? She opened the bedroom door and called out to Mel. He came running. Abby held out her left hand. Congratulations! It's gorgeous. Mel hugged them both. He hadn't expected this at all. He went back to the guest room. He wondered if the engagement was the right move, though in the same breath he knew how much Abby had grown to love Sage as more than a friend. Scott had been busy traveling from province to province. During this time, he'd been writing songs as well. He finally rented out the apartment over the garage. Too many memories, and the realization he couldn't move forward being in the middle of it all. Joe was relieved he had moved. His hope now was full of concentration on Scott's part for his career. Lisa had hooked up with a guy from the bar, but she enjoyed telling people she had dated Scott Wilson. Being back in his new place was a comfort from hotel rooms. Scott had been impressed by Abby's tiny house and had one built for himself, though his had a shipping container for a studio. No more rushing downtown. Joe was happy. No more booking and paying for time. This is a sweet space, Scott. Joe looked over the equipment in detail. Everything we need. This makes recording so much easier. Wish we had this years ago. Yeah, and I have a room for you to crash. No more ordering out. We have a kitchen just steps away. We haven't released the last recordings, Joe informed him. I listened to it and I wasn't happy, Scott said. Well, now things are calm. No women to mess you up. I have to agree. Joe stayed over while the two went through songs. I have a couple of new ones. Great, we'll use them instead of these two. Joe crossed the songs off and added the new ones. News of Abigail's engagement reached Dan. I have to admit, I never thought she'd marry again. I thought her heart would always be with Scott, Dan told Nicole, sitting at the bar. Sage is a great guy, and he cares for her, Nicole. There's no drama with him. Have they picked a date? Dan inquired. No, Nicole responded. I wish them well. I guess Scott hasn't heard yet? No, Nicole replied. I'll tell him, Dan told her. Abigail's father and girlfriend Melody were down for a visit. I'm pleased for you both. So when's the wedding? Nick asked them. A year from now. We don't see a reason to rush, Sage explained. Nick was glad they didn't want to rush. He took some time alone with his daughter. Abigail, are you sure about Sage? I have to ask. Yes, Dad, I'm sure. Does Scott know? This will crush him. Nick put his hands up. I know everything he has done, but he still loves you. Abigail knew her dad was right. A part of me will always love him. I just don't want the drama of 30 years. Unbelievable it's been that long. Listen, I'm happy for you, honestly. The four spent time together, her father getting to know Sage. The day before they left, Nick took him aside. I don't think I need to tell you how much my daughter means to me. You know how much she's been through. I don't want to repeat. I can see how much she cares for you and you for her. Make sure to work at it. I understand. I've been in love with her since 4th grade. All these years I've thought about her many times. When I came here, I was hoping for a connection. I didn't expect to propose. But the more time we spent together, it was obvious I would. You've known her a long time, and I do remember you as a kid. I recall Abby talking about you. Dan made a visit to Scott's new place. Hey, about time you came by, Scott said, opening the door. Cool digs, man. Give me the grand tour. Scott took him through the tiny house and the studio. No more running around, that's great. Scott could tell something was up. What's going on? Passed Dan a beer. Abigail's engaged, he blurted out. To Sage, I suppose. I wish them well, is all he said. Once Dan had left, Scott allowed his true emotion to come out. It should be me. I don't believe it. He picked up his cell phone and called Nicole. It's true, she informed him. Do you really believe she loves him? He had to ask. Nicole didn't answer right away. Yes, but she hesitated. She still loves you. It's a difficult place for her to be in. I'm sure it is. Listen, I don't mean to make things worse. I just wanted to know what I heard was true. I can't honestly wish them congratulations. Just let Abigail know I heard the news. Nicole heard the upset in his voice and felt terrible for him. She actually did believe Abigail should be with him. Scott held up his bottle of bourbon, then threw it into the sink. He wasn't going to allow this marriage to happen. Sage and Abby were enjoying a leisurely walk through a wooded area by the tiny house. They strolled along in silence. The sound of the birds and the rustling leaves surrounded them. This is a magical place to live. I see now why you left Toronto, he told her. But to be fair, Toronto has its spots too, not just as many. she said. Sage's phone rang, disturbing the tranquility of the moment. Hello? Yeah. When? I guess so. No, it's all right. For how long? I'll be there. Who was that? Abigail inquired. Tony, his new boss. He wants me in Toronto the day after tomorrow. It's for a couple of days. Do you want to come? Sage was hopeful. I don't see why not. They walked for a few more hours before heading back home. I'll order pizza. I think we're both pretty tired, Sage said, dialing the number. The two sat in front of the fake fireplace, enjoying their dinner. I'm happy you're coming this time. You'll be able to meet the people I work with. Going back east always made Abigail uneasy. She imagined it was due to her past. It couldn't hurt her anymore, but the memories were too much. They packed what was needed into their bags. You okay? Sage squeezed her hand as the plane took off. I'm good, she smiled. It was a 4.5-hour flight. They sat back and relaxed. It was an early morning, so sleep came easy. Abby rested her head on Sage's chest. She felt his warmth beneath her cheek. She heard his heart beat in her ear. Abigail was engulfed in his love. The announcement of arrival awoke them both. They went to the hotel downtown. Right away, Sage called Tony to say he was on his way. Walking into the building, Craig, the owner, greeted him. Hello, Sage. Good to see you again. You must be Abigail. Craig shook her hand. Yes, this is my fiancé. Had to say that. It sounds so good. He placed his arm around her shoulder. The trio went back to the editing room. We have a couple of rough videos we need your expertise with. The customer is here to go through it with you. Hey, Sage. Hi, Abby. It was Scott, bright-eyed and smiling. He must have planned this, Sage thought. What a surprise, was all Sage could say. Abigail was boiling. He could have done this from home. Craig knew their past and said not a word. I was here and wanted it taken care of by a pro. Sage knew this was all a setup by Scott. He recalled a photo of the two in Craig's office. So let's get down to work. Sage was in no mood to play. Abigail sat behind him on a small sofa. The video played and the music began. It was a brand new song. It spoke of a turbulent relationship. Scott sang of tender times. Abigail knew it was about them. She felt very uncomfortable. Sage knew it was about them also, and was fuming. He wanted to be done with this. The only reason he wasn't walking out was this was his job. By the end of the day, the first video was complete. We should go to dinner to celebrate, Scott suggested. No thanks. We're going back to the hotel for a quiet dinner alone, Abigail sternly stated. Scott backed off, leaving in his own direction. He planned this. Sage threw the car keys on the dresser provided. What did he hope to do? That song was about your marriage. He was trying to prove something to me. Maybe telling me I don't stand a chance. Sage paced the floor. He didn't know I was coming. I agree. He meant this to annoy you. I was proud how you handled it. She touched his arm as he passed her. Sage turned and sat beside her on the bed. How did you feel hearing the song? He took her hand. He remembered his words to her father. He could handle it. Upset that he does this all the time. His words are too late. Abigail put her finger to Sage's chin. You're my fiancé. You're my present and future. He leaned forward, kissing her gently. That warmth of his lips traveled throughout her body. It felt amazing. His hand reached behind her neck, drawing them closer. Together, they fell back on the brown comforter. Lost in deep romantic kisses, they undressed, then crawled under the blankets. Their hands caressed, their lips connected. Passion grew. Sweat covered their bodies. Sage rolled onto her, beginning the rhythm of satisfaction. The pinnacle of emotion, they laid side by side and fell asleep. It was an early morning. Sage wanted the second video done, then right to the airport. He had had enough. It was another song with tons of meaning. It had been their wedding song. Sage, making choices in his head. He glanced back to Abigail. Sage could see she was reliving that important day in her life. "What time is your flight?" Craig asked. 6, but of course we have to be there for 4, Sage informed him. "Well, we'll get as much as possible done, then I'll take over." "I don't mean to be impertinent, but couldn't you have done this?" Sage inquired. "Scott was adamant you do the editing. You knew I was dating his ex. It has been torture for us." Sage could barely keep control. "I'm sorry, but this is my business." Craig felt slightly bad. "I realize I agreed to come back when you needed me, but I'm changing my mind. If you still want me, I'll work from home." Scott was singing a number of his old songs. They always brought back memories of his first meeting Abigail. He had seen her at Dan's when she hadn't seen him. He couldn't let her go. As much as Abigail loved Sage, there was that sliver of Scott hanging on. She still felt a pride seeing him perform on television. Abby recalled his warmth, his touch. Then just as quickly, Sage's tenderness was forefront. We'll leave it there. As I said, sorry about the noise tonight, but, hubby's sleeping. Hopefully he'll feel better in the morning. Thank you to my YouTube family for coming by. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you very much, Laura. Witches, shout out. Love you guys. If you're new to my channel, please, as always, check out my other videos. If you find something that you like, thumbs up, drop a comment, share it out with anyone else you think might be interested. While you're here, consider becoming a subscriber, and if you do, remember to click that notification bell so that you'll know the next time that I upload. So hopefully tomorrow night I'll be back in my usual spot, and hopefully it'll be quiet, and then I can calmly, well, not that I wasn't calm this time, but I like reading when it's quiet to you, that there's no distraction. So again, sorry about the background noise. I live on a main street, can't help it. And until the next time, from a cloudy, cool Ottawa, ciao for now.